Mr. Malay Kishore Agrawal, who is the head with Indirect Taxation with UltraTech Cement. Can we have him with big round of applause, please?
Thank you, Sandeep and Ajit, for giving me this opportunity where I can just share my thoughts. So here, all of us are pretty experienced people in our field, and I don't think there is anything much which I would be saying which is new for any of one of us, for all of us. But I think I took this opportunity to share what has been my experience and which I felt was something which I can share with all of you, and we can have your feedback, and if it helps us in being better in our profession, so that would be something which I can just bring value over here. So the topic today is like on tax transformation. Obviously, if we look at how the taxation system used to be there pre-GST and now in GST, that has undergone a sea change. Earlier it was more used to be on a manual basis. You file the return, then they are going to call for a periodic audit, and that's when the questions will arise. Not so much on a micro level matching and all that. But with what GST has done, so what GST has done, so that's the question which they have given, like what keeps tax leaders awake. I think what GST has done, basically they have done that, they have kept us all awake all around. In GST, it came in 2017 and now it is 2025, and we are still seeing continuously they have been changing not just the provisions but the procedures, the requirements. Nothing seems to be settled, and by the time you understand, okay, this is what is required, now I am ready with it. So it's like by the time you understand, you get the answer to the question, now the question has been changed. This is one question which I think many of us would have faced, and it's also possible some of us may not have really given it a thought. On talent management and how do we get skilled tax professionals. It takes a lot of time in building up experienced and skilled people into this field and who have that whole insight, while you may get people who are well conversant with the laws and procedures. But there is more to it as to how these things would pan out and how you have to see when it comes to your business. Because at the end of the day, my role in the company is not just to tell them what is the law and what is the procedure and what we need to do as per that, but I also have to see what my business requires and how do I align and adapt this to my business. An answer which might be absolutely correct from a legal point of view, that may not be still be workable for my business. So it's not that it's not workable, so we are not going to comply with the law. Obviously we have to. But then if it is not workable, then how do I bring that balance, or what solution do I bring on the table that okay, let's go this way, which takes care of the legal requirements as well as what is needed for my business. This we are all aware. So tax, we know how fast changes have been, and we had to be adaptive, whether we are willing or by force. Streamlining processes. So one is proactiveness. Some things we can anticipate, some things we cannot. So while we may not be able to anticipate what actually they are going to do in terms of the very specific changes, the thing we need to see is something which may not be there in law and why they are trying to make the changes. If we understand from where they are coming, so some of the things we can be prepared which comes later on. So if I give you an example, one thing which the government is very clear is that they should not suffer a loss of tax. If your vendor has not paid or your customer has not reversed, so they say I am not going to allow it on both sides. You may not be at fault, but still I am going to go after you. If the vendor has not paid and you have taken credit, I will recover from you. If the customer has not reversed, so even though you may not have a mechanism, still I am going to go after you. So the takeaway for this for us is that whatever way we align our business and our things, the processes that we put for the tax, is there a way in which we can put some checks so as to minimize scope of this happening? Government will keep up with their, keep on coming with their measures, provisions, mechanisms, but broadly the theme is they don't want to suffer a loss on that part. So now we need to work more and more with our other functions in the business, production side, marketing side, your account side, procurement side, logistics, treasury, whichever way you look at it. We need to make them understand what are our concerns and why I am asking you to make some changes, or where you have to adapt and why you have to. If the quicker we are able to tell them. And I will tell you, my experience has been when, like say on the marketing side, when we reached out to the front line, to the core marketing guys, so some of the things actually they had not understood why we were asking. When you went and explained that, look boss, this is the requirement, this is why the government is saying, and now we have to do it. So they actually appreciated that, okay, now we are understanding. It's a tough ask which you are saying us. You have to go after the customers and collect certificates. They said, I know it's a very difficult one, but okay, they understood why I am saying and why the government is also saying. So the faster we are able to work with them and explain. Use of technology, I think we all know this. Transformative changes, so GST implementation, that itself is something unprecedented, if I may say so. Even sometime in, I think in June 2017, so there were many people who were saying, no, it's not going to come on 1st July, don't worry, it will again be deferred. And then only around like in the last week, like they said, "Ki yaar, ab to ye aa hi jayega." A thing where they could bring so many people, so many states on the table, and you could have one unified GST. System matching. So now on the tax department and government side, they are using more and more of their system based matching and analytics. We had not seen this happening, at least on the IDT part. Some states they were doing, but that wasn't on a scale on which now the tax department is operating, and on top of that they have also have they have an analytics system. So this is something new which we see for us. Virtual hearings, I think now this is becoming a norm, and it came unexpectedly. This was not something I think even the government had visualized, but the pandemic forced it upon them, and then they found, okay, this is, yes, we can do it. In GST, what we have also seen is that the government has been pretty responsive to the points raised or the concerns raised by the industry. While at times we might feel that they have not properly addressed, adequately addressed, or some issues they have not addressed. But by and large, they have been open to the idea, and if they find there is a way, or if there is merit in that, they have been making changes. They have been issuing circulars, changes in law, changes in your procedural aspects. No doubt that continuous resulting in continuous changes is again something which, while it is good on one side that the concerns got addressed, the other side is you again have to adapt to that. So keeping up with the frequent changes, that is a challenge. So data management. Now given that they are looking at invoice level data matching, on the inward side, on the outward side, you have the invoice, then you have the e-way bill. Now you will get more on the IMSs coming on that also, it's going to come. Plus the government is also integrating data from their other departments. We sometimes get queries that they got some data from the income tax department, sometimes from the mining department, sometimes from the RBI, sometimes from some other way. Like we all heard of some vendor getting a notice for GST registration because his payments under the NPCI, that UPI system, that exceeded the registration threshold. So that just speaks volumes, like how the government has been integrating data and looking at that. Timelines, department now gives very little timelines on to revert back. This is a challenge. So risk, wherever we are not able to align the information, so that presents a risk in terms of a potential tax demand. It could be a huge amount. How we are able to identify, how early, and what do we do to address that? Cost control. I think all of you would be knowing this much better than, there is nothing more which I need to say. All the companies are very much focused on cost of compliance. Revenue department thought process. So you will face, sometimes you have to deal with the state tax officers, sometimes with the central tax officers, and how that, even that particular officer, how open they are and how do they look at the question. So this is something which is the beyond, this is something which you will not find written in any of the laws and procedures. stakeholder expectations. Everybody is interested that their interests are taken care. So let me just come to one is increased board oversight on tax and litigation reporting. Now the board is very much interested that what sort of liabilities or the tax disputes you are reporting and how much of that is a risk, what you are doing. Now you find every order which is coming, that also you have to report to stock exchanges for a listed company. So lots of questions are coming on that. Tech tools, big data, so you have so much of data, how you are able to use that. This is a new business way arrangements, ways of delivery. So we never thought a business could be run where the business does not have anything except a platform. There is hundreds of vendors on one side, hundreds of customers on other side, both who do not know each other, and it's going to run through you. So how that is going to affect the taxation system? So this we have to see that, and uncertainty in litigation outcomes. So your any litigation, if it goes up to the Supreme Court level, I think about at least 2 decades it's going to take. And then what is going to happen after that? Like if I just take the classic example of entry tax system, that matter went along for I think 4 or 5 decades. And ultimately the court said that no, last 4 decades, 5 decades, the line of argument which we had been taking, that line of argument itself was wrong. Now you have to go on a different line of argument. So while the courts are going to take their own time, maybe 1, 2, 3 decades, the business wants us that you tell me what is going to be the final position taken. You tell us on day 1, because I have to do business today. So while the lawyers and the judiciary and all those people who are trained, they will take their own time, we still have to find a solution on day 1 itself, because ultimately we have to see that the company does its business. Technology, it's something we don't have a choice now. So I will not go too much into that. Uncertainty is increasing. Now we have more disruption in lesser time. Continuous learning. So as they say, keep some time aside for sharpening your axe. You can't just go on cutting the tree. So I am again bringing this point, stakeholder engagement. In this today's connected world, and where you have such faster communication and everybody is concerned why this has happened, why that has happened. Not just the tax department, you have to make your businesses open to this and be flexible on that. Avoiding aggressive views, that's the last point I have over there. So these were few of the thought which I had based on my experience. I think it would be, this is what we have, and we are seeing further developments on this, and you would have experienced this thing in your own way. So thank you very much for a patient listening, and I'm open to questions if any you have.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your time and presentation.